Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some additional concepts when it comes to working with constraints in general. So go ahead and select any cube you want. I'm just going to click on this cube and do Control I to invert the selection, do X and delete everybody. Go ahead and click on this cube and remove any constraints from it. Do Alt R G S, do Shift C to place the 3D cursor in the center. And just go ahead and zoom out a bit. So what we're going to do is simply click on this red arrow and move this, let's say about here, and press the S key to just scale this out a bit. Only reason I'm scaling is because when it matches the 3D grid, it's a little difficult to see the black outline when it's deselected. Now do Shift D to duplicate this and click on this red arrow and move it to the right over here. And of course press the S key to scale this a bit. Now go ahead and click on this object. Now notice that right now over here it's showing a value on X, right? So what I want you to do is go ahead and do copy location and just select cube.001 or this cube over here. So we know how this concept works with world space and world space. Now over here, when we click on offset, you know that this value is going to be added on top. So when we click on this object, press the G key, that offset is going to be maintained. Okay, click this and go ahead and remove the offset. Now the cool thing about constraints is that you can add them again. So here we can do copy location and add it again, but this time when we click on offset, you'll notice that this object is moving. It's actually not using these values. What it's doing is that it's taking a look at where it had traveled from the center of the 3D grid to get to this object, and that information is again added, right? Now do escape to get out of the grease pencil. So when you click on this object, you'll notice that that object is really now moving twice the distance, really, if you think about it, right? It's moving over here, then it's moving again. So this means that if you click over here and do copy location again, it'll even move a lot faster, right? So you can do really interesting things with this concept. Now the question is that, okay, well, if we click over here, you can see that this value, if we want to use it, we would have to go to the topmost copy location and click on offset. When we do that, only this information is going to be added one time. It's not going to be added 3 times, okay? Now, when you have all 3 checked, you can actually press the G key and move this object. Of course, if you have this checked, if you press the G key, it's not going to work. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and remove the grease pencil. Now let's go ahead and remove all these constraints. And over here, I want you to click on this object and move it over here and just zoom in. So now let's take a look at how does this work with copy rotation. So it's going to do the same thing with rotation, scale, and transforms, but here we're just going to click on copy rotation. So go ahead and click this. So right now, when you rotate this object, it's really just a one-to-one match. Now when we come over here and do copy rotation again, click this. Now you'll notice that when we click on this offset over here and click on this and rotate this by 90 degrees, that object is going to rotate by 180 degrees. Now notice that over here, when we click on offset, there's really no rotation to add, right? Only in the location that it had jumped. But when it comes to rotation, there was really no rotation happening on this object to begin with. That's why it doesn't rotate by 90 degrees automatically. So that's how that is. And of course, if you want to rotate this by yourself, you have to click on offset and press the R key. Now it'll just keep that offset and rotate twice the speed, right? So you can add a rotation as many times as you want to speed this object up. So this is another way to do this quickly if you need to rotate objects twice or 3 times the speed. Anyways, that's pretty obvious. So let's go ahead and now remove all this. So click on this object, do Alt R to reset the rotation. Let's click on this object and do X and delete. Now having this object selected, go to the Object tab, and here we're going to come back to Texture. So now you understand how world space and local space works with these objects, right? Now go ahead and press the G key. Now I want you to do Shift D to duplicate this, place it over here, press the S key to scale. Now click on this object and press the R key 2 times and rotate this object in any way that you want. Click on this object, press the R key 2 times and rotate this object any way you want. Now click on this object, press the Shift key down, click on this one, do Control P and create a parent-child relationship. Now notice what's going to happen. Now here we have the 3D cursor in the center, so we're going to do Shift A to add again that tracking device so we can actually see what's actually going on with the local coordinate system that the child is going to use. I'm just going to scale it. Now, of course, we have to click this object, press the Shift key down, click on the parent so it can be tracked by it. Now when you click on this and do Alt R, now we're actually looking at this being rotated in three-dimensional space. This is something that we didn't do, right? So now when you click on this object and do Alt R, it's going to align it itself using the local coordinate system and do Alt G, right? So in the same way, if you look at it, when we move this object along the X, it will only move along the local coordinate system that it has. Okay, so that's how this concept is going to work. And of course, if you click on this object and let's say we can move the parent anywhere that we want and take this object's local coordinate system with it. Now over here, just do Shift D to duplicate this over here. What we're going to do is click on this object, go to the Constraints tab, and here we can just do copy location, copy its location, and evaluate the owner, which is the child, in local space, right? So again, it's just going to work the same way. So if we click this, move along its Y, that object is going to move along its local Y. This is a local X and a local Z, right? Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So what we're going to do now is set up this file so we can take a look at how does the copy location constraint work with world space and local space when we are dealing with an armature or bounds. So go ahead and press the A key to select everything, do X and delete. Now do Shift C to place the 3D cursor in the center, do Shift A, and over here we're going to add an armature with a single bound. And just press the 1 key to go to your front view. Now you can just do Shift C to just home in on it and go ahead and zoom out and do the middle mouse button to rotate. Now over here what we need to do is first go to the Object tab and enable the axis that belongs to the armature object. And of course if we go to this tab, you can enable the axis and names that are on the bone themselves, and we can only see the axis for the bones either when we are in edit mode or in a pose mode. So if you click on this bone, you can see that the axis is going to be displayed on the tail. Now what I want you to do is first go ahead and switch this to object mode and just rotate it like this, and I want you to click on this red arrow and move this away from the center of the 3D grid. We need to do this if we want to understand how world space and local space work when we're dealing with bounds. Now what I want you to do is actually over here, make sure that the 3D cursor is in the center, do Shift A over here, and I want you to add a grid. A grid is simply just a plane, it's just subdivided automatically for you. Go ahead and add it. Now when you press the Tab key to go into edit mode, everything should be selected. You can just press the A key to select everything, do X, and I want you to delete only faces. Now when we do Tab to go back into object mode, it will give us this grid over here. Now what we're going to do is do Shift A and add an empty, and over here we're just going to add arrows over here, and just press the S key to scale this a bit over here. Okay, now what we're going to do is having this arrows selected, press the Shift key down, click on the grid, and do Control P and create a parent-child relationship. Okay, Now what we need to do is actually tell this grid to copy the location of this bone. So first, go ahead and click on the armature and make sure that you are in pose mode. Now having this bone selected, press the shift key down, click on this grid. Now you're going to do shift control C and you're going to do copy location. So you'll see that the grid will snap over here. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and click on the armature and go ahead and switch to edit mode, and I want you to click on this red arrow and move this bone right around, let's say over here. Okay, now when we switch to pose mode, this grid should snap. Just make sure that when you move the bone, the grid is not in the way of the origin point that belongs to the armature. That's all we're doing over here right now. Okay, now what we need to do is actually tell this grid to copy the rotation of this bone, because you can see that the y-axis is pointing up. So right now, if you look at this grid, it's a local axis. It's pointing over here. Okay, so over here, what we're going to do is click on this, go to the Constraints tab, basically do the same thing, but here this time we're just going to do copy rotation. Here select the armature, and we know that it's just one bone over here, so select it. You'll notice that it rotates. Now what's important here is that the arrows are going to align itself. So what we're going to do is click on this grid and press the 3 key to go to the right view. And here we're actually going to switch to edit mode, press the A key to select all the vertices, press the R key, press the control key down, and just rotate all the vertices. Right, so all we've done is just rotated the vertices. That's it. Now when we switch this to object mode and actually click on this bone, you can see that when we press the R key 2 times on the bone, it will rotate correctly. Okay, what's important here is that this axis is aligned over here with this bone. Okay, we're going to later change the way this works. So that's that. Now what we need to do is actually click on this object over here and press the shift key down and click on the arrows and do shift D to duplicate it and right click to cancel. Now go ahead and click on the grid. Now it doesn't matter which grid you click, they're basically duplicates over here. Okay, now go ahead and turn off the copy location over here, and we're going to go ahead and turn off the copy rotation, so it'll just appear like this. Now what we're going to do is go to the armature and go ahead and switch to edit mode. We're going to do shift D to duplicate this bone, right click to cancel. And here what I want you to do is click on this red arrow and move this bone over here. Notice that this is called bone.001, and that's it. Now go ahead and switch this back to object mode. Now click on this grid. Now over here you're going to switch this to bone 001 and a bone 001. Now go ahead and select this. So this will appear over here. Okay, again, we're right now just setting everything up so we can understand how this concept works with bones. Now what we need to do is actually click on the armature, and over here we have to click on this bone and actually move it up on the z-axis. We have to do this. Now go ahead and switch to pose mode. So you'll notice that one grid will be a little above than this grid. Now the last remaining item over here is that we actually have to create a custom transform over here, and we have to do it on the armature itself. So go ahead and switch to object mode. Now over here what I want you to do is press the R key, press the Z key, and just rotate this armature just a little bit like this. Now make sure that this is set on local. Now over here go all the way and do transform orientation. I've already shown you how this works, so make sure that it is set on local, just like how it is over here. We need to capture the axis that is being displayed on this armature. Go ahead and click on the plus sign. Now when you go over here, it'll just say armature, switch to it. Now go down over here, we can actually name this, so we're going to call this pose space. Press enter. Now go ahead and switch this back to local. Okay, now over here we're just going to switch this to pose mode. Click on this bone and just press the period key to home in on it. Okay, and here let's just rotate it this way and just pan a little bit. And here we're just going to go ahead and save this file. So we're going to do save as, and make sure you save it as a bone concepts 5.blend. Now this is all set up over here. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to reload this file over here. So I'll see you in the next lesson where we will start to understand how the location concept works when we are dealing with bones. Thank you.